at least on the face of it, quite unusual and very puzzling. There are some very other curious aspects of the manner in which this case is apparently being handled. I have been informed that the Ministry of Law and Justice has issued written instructions to all ministries by a circular dated the 3rd of November 2008 that in all sensitive matters, written submissions and affidavits should be filed in the Supreme Court only after the same are vetted and approved by the Department of Legal Affairs, Ministry of Law and Justice. Based on all public comments of the Petroleum Ministry, it is clear that this is considered to be a sensitive matter. Nonetheless, it has reportedly chosen not to take this approval of the Ministry of Law and Justice. Maybe, technically, it has the powers to go ahead on its own. But given the several interministerial deliberations that had already taken place on the subject and the substantial issues involved, would it not have been more appropriate and transparent to at least consult the Law Ministry and follow rules and directives of the central government? Quite to the contrary, it appears. According to media reports, the Petroleum Ministry, in an unprecedented step, reportedly wrote to the Law Ministry earlier this month and simply informed them that the copies of SLPs and affidavits would be made available by the advocates of the Petroleum Ministry, and the same should be simply just filed in the Supreme Court. Not just that, the Petroleum Ministry further instructed the Law Ministry that no counsel should be instructed to appear in the matter without their prior approval, as the matter was sensitive. Also, according to further media reports appearing today, the senior government law official who represented the Petroleum Ministry before the Bombay High Court informed the Law Ministry that the submissions should be confined to the grievances as an aggrieved party arising out of the judgment of the Bombay High Court. The challenge to the MOU should only be to the gas sale agreement and not to other matters. And he had not seen or been shown the final SLP. Apparently, his advice was not followed. Finally, it has been brought to my attention that one of the senior advocates of the Petroleum Ministry, who I have no doubt is a most accomplished person with the highest degree of legal expertise, is the same individual who sent a formal complaint to SEBI in October 2007 against the Reliance Power IPO and me personally. It's a different matter that SEBI and the Honorable Supreme Court allowed the IPO to proceed, overruling all complaints. Media reports further suggest that some officials in the Petroleum Ministry had observed that the services of this learned senior advocate should not be considered due to the inadequate understanding and presentation of the cases before the Honorable Bombay High Court. But this was again overruled, and he still represents the Petroleum Ministry. Maybe all this is just an accident or a simple coincidence. Shareholders, I leave it to your judgment. Unfortunately, these incidences don't stop here. It actually gets better. Sorry, it gets worse. Frankly, if the Petroleum Ministry is genuinely aggrieved and if they honestly believe that Reliance Industries has violated the terms of the production sharing contract by allegedly trying to divide national property, why don't they exercise their powers and terminate the production sharing contract and take back the ownership of the gas fields from Reliance Industries? There are explicit provisions in the production sharing contract for the Petroleum Ministry to do so. Since the corporate agreements between Reliance Industries and Reliance Natural Resources have been known to them for 3 years, I wonder what they have been waiting for. Why are they belatedly rushing to the Supreme Court, challenging commercial contracts between two corporate entities? I simply wonder. The next question is, why is the Petroleum Ministry's stance different now in the Supreme Court than it was in the Bombay High Court? I really wish I knew. Before the Bombay High Court verdict, let me finish please, let me finish. Before the Bombay High Court verdict, the ministry did not ask for cancellation or annulment of the MOU. In fact, during the High Court hearing, the Petroleum Ministry made certain submissions regarding its views on gas supply and its own interpretation of the production sharing contract, which ran completely contrary to their earlier stated positions on the issue. However, when our counsels requested the court's permission to cross-examine the Petroleum Ministry's officials, the Petroleum Ministry quickly withdrew all their affidavits. Again, on the face of it, appears quite unusual and extremely puzzling. The next question is, could the Petroleum Ministry then be intervening because the High Court judgment affects the government's interests adversely? The reality is that the Bombay High Court has delivered not one but 3 judgments on the issue. Each one of them, including the most recent one delivered on the 15th of June 2009, fully protects the government's interests and revenues. This is also completely consistent with our own legal position. What is being deliberately distorted is that, as per the production sharing contract, there is a clear distinction between the sale price of gas, which is to be fixed by the contractor, in this case RIL, and the price to be adopted for determining the government's royalty and share of production, normally referred to as valuation. It is this valuation which is approved by the government. This is not our interpretation of some very complex legal clauses. This is the view of the government itself, consistently